Welcome to our Monday Mindset. We have Liz here today. And for those of you who don't know, Liz is our amazing executive assistant. She is a jack of all trades and just an incredible gift to this community, but also to the Women in the Happy Hormones program. And as somebody who's gone through the Happy Hormones program herself, just brings a ton of just a wealth of information to this community. So I'm super excited that you're here today, Liz. Thank you for giving your time. And we wanted to talk today about one of the mindsets that really keeps women stuck. So we've started this Monday mindset thing because we're realizing that above and beyond the steps that you can take, meaning like changing supplements or changing your diet or going to sleep on time, there are certain belief systems and mindsets that really do set the women in the coaching program apart. But also the flip side of that is the mindsets that actually keep us stuck. So today we wanted to actually talk about those feelings of overwhelm and like when we're stressed and we're overwhelmed and we're getting bombarded with information from every source possible. And then what happens in our brain is we think, I don't have time to address this issue. So Liz, I was wondering if you could share a little bit. We've got your full testimony like in its whole own other video, but so definitely go back and watch that if you have not yet. But today, I was hoping that you could share a little bit about where you were in your process in an extremely overwhelming, busy season and what kind of flipped the switch for you. Because I know that we see this with the clients that we work with. I see it with a lot of the women that I have conversations with. And that's we kind of get stuck or halted at that place where it's like, do I really have time for this? And I was wondering if you could share a little bit about kind of your process with that and how you got through it.
Yeah. When I first joined the group and was just looking into this, I was going through a really high stress situation. We were planning this huge event that I was doing administration for, and we had really stressful family situation. And then the pandemic was in the middle of all of that. And I was like, I am so overwhelmed, but my body is screaming for help. Like I was losing my hair and going through mood swings. And there was like 1 to 2 weeks out of the month where I was just taken out. Like I was planning my month around my period. And I was just like, I cannot afford to let this continue because I know that even entering into this high stress situation, entering into the pandemic, my body is not getting the support it needs and it's going to fight back. And I can't afford to not give this some of my time and attention. And I remember us having this conversation because I was like, I don't know if I should be making a big change right now. Like, and I loved what you told me. You said, what other better time for you to give your body support and to take even small steps forward towards shifting things than when you're in a high stress situation. And you even said, can you imagine how equipped you would be when you're on the other side of this and you have all these tools in your tool belt? And I was like, that makes total sense because I usually fall off of a healthy program or healthy habit when I'm in high stress.
Right.
So to give that place and to give it time and attention, it was actually really empowering for me. Like I have all these other things going on, but I cannot afford to not do this, especially being a breast cancer survivor and them telling me that having high estrogen could lead to a reoccurrence. I'm like, what am I doing? Like if I don't make this change, I could end up back where I started. And I just did not want that to happen. And so I realized that reprioritizing my life, even in the middle of overwhelm, even in the middle of just all these stress factors that were not going to go away, could potentially save my life. And not only that, but it would actually help these high stress situations because I was barking at my family. I was not a pleasant person to be around. And I was like adding to everyone else's stress. And it was just like worst case scenario meets worst case scenario. So it's like, if I'm not going to make a commitment to my own self-care, things are just going to get worse, and so I had
Totally.
to ask myself, what happens if I don't make a change? You know,
Yeah.
what happens if I wait even longer? And, I didn't want to find that out. So,
Right.
having that
Well,
support was huge.
because
Yeah.
you'd already been through your worst nightmare, right?
Yeah. Right.
Every woman's absolute worst nightmare is like,
Mhm.
that's what you were living. You'd already lived through
Yeah.
that part. And so I think, in a different way, that's what woke me up as well, was my dad dying of brain cancer and realizing he was not a genetic, like it wasn't genetic. And so that's really what began to tip the scales of, kind of held up a mirror to my own health issues and like, what am I ignoring?
Yeah.
That really is, when we're talking about these symptoms, God, that is my belief system, whether you who are watching or not, it doesn't have to be, but for me, my faith is a big part of my belief system. And God made us to walk in divine health. And so when we've been told by the medical community, by practitioners, by doctors, by mainstream media or whatever, that it's normal to be miserable 2 weeks out of the month so that you actually do not fulfill
Right.
the call on your life,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's BS.
Right.
And I think that's what began to tip the scales for me, of those little warning signs, and I didn't listen. This is the
Mhm.
thing. Okay. So, and I know that there are so many people that relate to that, because so many of the women that I talk to are like, I have been miserable for 15 years. I have been miserable for my whole life. I don't remember ever feeling good.
Right.
And it's that when we get to that place, and that's what we're talking about today, is I don't have enough time. The belief that we don't have enough time to resolve the issue comes from a place of feeling really overwhelmed, right?
Mhm.
And when you're not feeling good, like I remember I was having panic attacks every single day, 6 o'clock in the morning, would wake me up in a cold sweat, uh, throwing up and having diarrhea, because my adrenaline and my cortisol was so high, because my thyroid was wackadoodle. And my doctor's like, oh, you're just having postpartum, but it's too late to be postpartum. So you're just crazy. And I was like, oh, that was not helpful. So, um, and really it comes from that place of feeling so much sicker than we're even realizing. Like, we're tired, we don't have
Mhm.
energy, we're moody as heck 2 weeks out of the month, we're snapping at our spouse, and we don't really even realize it until we get our period, and then we're like, oh yeah, I totally just yelled at you for nothing, like that was dumb. And then that belief system comes in of, I don't have time,
Right.
because I feel so overwhelmed, when really, if you know what to focus on, you get your time back.
Right.
And I think, how would you kind of describe that? Like, because I know for myself, I did not have the privilege of like the happy hormones process, or like working with a coach. I had a doctor who's like, you have to change 30 things today. And when was already like I was already hypoglycemic. I was very ill, you guys, working, had a newborn. This was not an ideal time. This was not like all the things we think of, that perfect time to work on ourselves. This was not that. And so that was overwhelming, but I knew I had to do something. And so talk a little bit about, about what it was like to have, what helped you to kind of begin to take those little action steps and get out of some of the perfectionism and the waiting for the perfect time, or getting over that belief system of, I don't have time to work on this issue.